Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we are back. Was that a wrestling thing I just did? Oh, well, anyway. I don't even, okay, we'll cut this out and try again. Hi. One of
Come on, Frank.
It just hit me. It's one of from something.
You're such people don't know how serious you are, and for some reason, when we start recording, you just turn into this guy. You know, this guy Charles and I don't even know. We're like, who is that? So,
that's true.
Generation X. It was one of the guys from Generation X on Raw is War, War is Raw, or something like that, which I've probably only seen 5 times. But anyway, all right. So, take 2. Hello, we are back on Real Boxing Talk, talking real boxing. We're going to get into what we witnessed over the last weekend on ESPN. I'm still going to plug them because it was still a heck of an idea. It was a great show. And of course, this panel of 3. Moving on from that.
We're not the only ones.
We're not the only correct about that, John. So John and Charles, we're going to recap. Or yes,
should have a picture of Bob Arum behind you too,
really,
Frank. Really, because
well, I got the Kronk Gym. I didn't think to accessorize correctly tonight. The fight of this era right now, we were looking at, I don't know, the coronation of Lomachenko. This was probably going to be the best test he was going to get, and he got it, and the young man on the other end, Teofimo Lopez, I was about to say pulled it out. Didn't pull it out. He took charge. So since all 3 picked Lomachenko, how surprised are you that we were wrong? Charles, how surprised are you that we didn't have it right?
I'm not really surprised. I mean, I am to a point, but I wasn't like, I'm serious. I wasn't like, I was like, oh my God, because, and I'm going to be real, I think Lomachenko was a hell of a fighter. He is a great fighter, but I needed to see more. And I think I said that to you guys before. I mean, when I look back at it, I mean, he can only do what he could do. He has a great amateur career. And then the way things work out might have been his management. I mean, he's 32 years old. He has less than 20 fights. That's like, wow. I mean, that just kind of makes you, and you think about the number of fights that Lopez has already fought at 23, right? But things happen. So, but you move forward with what you can do in your career. But to answer your question, I really wasn't that surprised because of the fact that it's like anything else. Usually, sooner or later, a fighter like that, Lomachenko, meets somebody that really challenges him. And I think Lopez, the way that he came across, the way he talked a lot, but when you watch his fights, you could just kind of see the skill set. Now, I didn't say I thought he automatically was a shoe-in. I'm not going to say that. But I will say that in the past, when you saw Lomachenko start slow, and even was slow, you know eventually he was going to catch up to the guy, and he was going to take him down. He was going to finish the deal. That's what he always does. And it's almost going to take a near perfect effort to defeat him in such a way. And I think that's what Lopez did. Usually a lot of guys say, yeah, everybody had the same game plan. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But they don't execute it. But Lopez did. And I think that's why I wasn't really surprised, because he had shown you before what he could do, and he had the skill set. But the question was, can you get it done? And he did.
Okay, to clarify, when you say a fighter like that, considering Lomachenko, what do you mean a fighter like that?
Well, what I mean when I say a fighter like that, I mean, one, he's young, okay? And he has that skill set. Like a lot of times we talk about one-trick ponies, right? He has the ability to box. He has the ability to hurt you. But again, like I said, when you watch the Lomachenko fights, the MO has been, for the most part, in my opinion, you go in there, you watch him, somebody might, even a Luke Campbell might even brush him up, touch him, knock him around a little bit, but you know what we've been accustomed to is Lomachenko is going to come back in the end and he's going to win. He's going to find a way to take the guy out. This particular young man, on the other hand, was like, no, we have a plan. And it seemed to me like he was just ready. And I guess that's what I mean, a fighter like that. Somebody that's more versatile in their game plan. Because the other guys were, either try to turn southpaw or they always try to throw a little gimmick on it, right? And Lopez is like, no, I'm going to fight you the way I fight you. I'm going to watch what you do. I'm going to use the pyramid, all of the other things. I guess my point is he had a plan and he executed the plan.
Okay. John, any real shock to it, or is it just the kid fought a good fight?
Oh, I was very surprised. I was accepting what was happening by round 4, but it wasn't just that. I was surprised at Lomachenko. Yeah, he starts slow, but he doesn't wait 6 rounds to get going. That was I was like, I was thinking he can't figure the kid out, or he's fighting kind of tentative. As I wrote an article, I said, oh, he'd have won the first 6 rounds if it was a dance contest. But,
right,
in boxing, you got to punch. And he wasn't punching. And I was surprised by that. I thought, does he really think he's going to give up 5 of the first 6 or 6 of the first 7 and come all the way back and stop this kid? So that I always think of the mindset. What do you think that you could do that? Does that mean that, as we were talking off air, Frank, I think he was surprised at the quickness of Lopez. I do. I think he respected his power. I mean, he better. He's not a dummy. But I think that little twitchy quickness that he had, I think it had him a little like, I just can't find a rhythm. And then he couldn't find any angles, like you were saying. The angles that he usually outsmarts guys with, Lopez was ready. Like Charles just said, Lopez was pretty much ready for everything he was going to throw at him. And he was bigger, and I think that was a factor. Not everybody can do like Manny Pacquiao and keep moving up weights, because the thing about Manny, we don't want to use that S word, I guess, but we can if we want to at some point about, But he was knocking guys out. He was knocking guys out when he moved up. He knocked out Ricky Hatton. He brutalized Ricky Hatton. Oscar was dehydrated, but still, he stopped him.
Right.
Lomachenko's not really going to knock out a guy like Lopez. He's just bigger and stronger, and he did maybe wobble him a little, but it's not going to be a one-punch thing like Pacquiao did with Ricky Hatton. So he had to outbox you, and if he can't outbox you, he's in trouble, because he can't out-physical Lopez, no way. And then Lopez, as Charles just said too, laser focus. He had a plan. He was sticking with it. He was right there. Where it was like it was reversed. It was like Lomachenko was like, man, I knew this kid was good, but I didn't think that he was going to have me so figured out like this. And then the fact that, one more thing, the fact that his corner, Lomachenko's corner, was so almost dead as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
Again, I said they needed Angelo Dundee to pop in the corner and go, you're blowing it, kid, you're blowing it, Right. I mean, I didn't understand why there wasn't any urgency in his corner. Like, look, we just gave up 6 or 7 rounds. We were talking about Teofimo Sr., we were talking about him, but I thought the dad should have been saying, son, you probably lost the first 6 rounds. You better get going now. Or we lost the first 3 rounds, like Hagler and Leonard or whatever you want to say, and then Hagler started going. You don't throw away that's beyond arrogant as far as I'm concerned. You're not that good that you think that you can just come back like that. I mean, Muhammad Ali used to do that, but I don't remember losing 6 or 7 rounds. He'd lose 4 or 5, and then he'd start turning it up a little bit, and fight would start turning. But 6 rounds. So that surprised me, and it surprised me how Lopez grasped the moment, stayed cool under fire, and got the job done. And he just incredibly impressed. He deserved it.
Well, there were 2 things as we're watching it in the first 2 rounds that struck me that took me by surprise. One, we were talking about Lomachenko last week being able to be in your face in space and be able to control that space. He wasn't able to do that. And I don't know if he even tried for the first 6 rounds or so. The second one was he got, for lack of a better term, bullied off his spot across the ring. So there was a lot of bouncing out of the area where he was and then bouncing, back to the ropes on the other side of the ring, where it's just like, I have to come back and regroup. But it wasn't, I'm going to take a step, and it was, whoa, and he'd go all the way back. And I don't think I'd ever seen him do that before, where he just got not shoved, just bullied across the ring. And I think Lopez realized, I do have control of this fight as long as I keep control of it. Now, as we progress in the fight, when Lomachenko was coming back, Charles, we were talking about this just after the fight. Did you think he had it figured out at that point, or was it still he was trying to figure it out? Let's go 7th, 8th round, something like that.
No, I think he started to feel more comfortable because you could tell at the end he's starting to engage. But I think it was apparent to him that, okay, I need to start fighting. I mean, I got to take chances, because before he wasn't taking the chances, and whatever it was, it's like at this point, this the second half of the fight, I need to engage. 7, he was very busy, also very busy in round 8, and he started coming on. But the other reason why you said you were surprised early on why he was kind of backing up and not in the spaces, the one thing I think that nobody, I mean, some people talk about it, but the thing that Lopez was doing, he was hitting him in the body, and he was hurting him. He was hurting him in the body, because you watch him, he like wince, and you're like, oh, wow. That was just totally different. He was like making connections, and then he was coming with uppercuts. I mean, those were those punches like that were really hurting him. And again, I don't think Lomachenko was fighting people that really had that type of a variety of arsenal in their bag. And when he was on. But I mean, this is not. Here's what I'm saying to you. This is not to discredit Lomachenko at all. He's a hell of a fighter. I mean, he's top, which makes this victory more impressive to me by Lopez, because oftentimes, like I said, 8 through 11, some of the shots that Lomachenko was hitting Lopez with, a lot of the guys drop. A lot of people go out.
Retired from, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's boom, boom, boom. I mean, he was like hitting him and like going back, and like, is he going to be okay? Those are stoppers. Those are fight stoppers. And that's what made it even more impressive when Lopez was able to hang on the way that he did.
John, as you're watching this fight, now let's take away from it that we'd already reviewed it before, tried to predict it and all that and everything. Let's say we are just people that walked in off the street, sat down and looked at the fight and went, hey, there's 2 guys on the TV. If you're looking at it that way and you're seeing it for the first time, you don't know records, you don't know belts, any of that stuff. When you're watching that fight, who looked like the better boxer?
Well, that's an individual question. You know, I still think that Lomachenko has a lot to his game. He just didn't get to show it against Lopez. It's like anything in sports. You have 2 teams, and the other team shuts down your running back or shuts down your quarterback. Doesn't mean he's not really good. They just figured out a way to shut him down for that particular game. I hate it when in basketball where a great shooter goes 9 out of 26, and the guy who's playing defense gets no credit. It's like, he was off that night. Well, yeah, he might have been a little off, but he had a little help, because this guy was in his face the minute he came out of the locker room. So I agree with Charles, though, and I even put this in my article. I think it hurts Lomachenko's legacy a little, but he's been fighting the top guys since he came into the pros. And I just looked at it as, look, he just ran into a guy that he didn't expect. It happens in boxing. The great fighters, they run into a hungry guy. I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson, when he came back after his retirement, lost to Ralph Tiger Jones. Ralph Tiger Jones. I mean, I'm not comparing Ralph Tiger Jones to Lopez, but I'm just saying that sometimes it happens. And I think Lopez was at his peak for this fight. Loma was a little below. And Lopez got the job done. So I still think Lomachenko is a great fighter. He fought a lot of the top guys. Like I said, he like we said last week, he beat Gary Russell Jr. Nobody's been able to beat Gary Russell Jr. Right. The surprise is that Lomachenko doesn't even lose rounds, really. And he was losing rounds like that. I mean, it reminded me a little bit when my guy Andre fought Kovalev. I mean, he lost like 5 or so, 6, same thing. And I was shocked, because watching all his fights, you never even see him lose a round. He dominates, he gets knocked down in the first round. And he did the same thing. He just kept coming and coming and coming. He got the decision, but that's for another show. But I just think that again, Lopez deserves all the credit for, even when Lomachenko was, and he was hitting him. Charles was right. He was hitting him with some solid shots. Never lost his cool. Went right back to his game plan, and then he closed the show in the 12th round with some wicked shots. And I think he had Lomachenko a little buzzed by the end of the fight.
Well, and just to go back to the opening of this show, it was the road dog Jesse James just popped into my head. Anyway, all right, so I know there's no point in that at all. Okay, so we're looking at the aftermath now. And again, there's more of this we can build into it because I don't want to shortchange what Lopez did and just gloss over it. But we're looking at the aftermath, and the two things that I take away from the end of the fight, and we'll go back into the meat of the fight after this. But the two things I take away from the end of the fight was Lopez was still calm during the interviews, during all that. It wasn't like, I just did the unbelievable. Like, yeah, that's what I was supposed to do. And Lomo was out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you don't speak the language, I get that. And maybe you don't want to be peppered with a bunch of questions. But it was like, when the decision came, before they even raised it, well, close to when they raised his hand, Lomo was out the ring and gone. He knew he gotten beat. And having only had that happen once before as a professional, you wonder if he thought maybe I'm going to get a decision. No, he was gone. So they knew what happened in the ring. They knew who the dominant player was. And like I said, Lopez was like, this is the way it was supposed to happen. So when we look at that emotion, how does that play into what happened during the ring? Because it seemed to me, and Charles, I'm trying to ask a question, it's not how to get to it. It seemed to me that Lopez was the more composed player in this game. You think? Yeah,
I can say that. Well, he's very composed for particularly a young man of his age, right? Because, I mean, he was just together. He was real cool. And he could have been like, oh, my God, I won. I can't believe I'm the greatest mother. He wasn't even like that. He was like, you know what? Came in here. He acted like a champion. He really did. He was composed. And he was like, I'm just glad to be here. But we thought we had an idea we were going to be here. But to say that Lomachenko wasn't composed, I wouldn't say that. I think that it was a tough night for him. The guy's a champion. He's received a lot of accolades. He was considered often by many the pound for pound fighter. And if there is truth to his shoulder hurting the way that it was, I mean, if he's hurting like that, then why would you be hanging around to give an interview? I mean, considering that he had surgery like yesterday or whatever recently. Yeah. So if you got an injury, why did you be hanging around? What did you think? I mean, that might be seen one way, but I think you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. The other thing too, I think, which is cool for him to leave, because I know the media, being part of that at one point, we want the stories, we want everybody to talk about, we want the backstory and everything. But at the end of the day, I think that he even if he did it to a fault, he didn't even know what he was doing. By walking away, you allowed the light to be shined on Lopez. Right. And I think that's great. And that's what Lopez said. Even when Bob Arum brought him up in the ring, one of the prior fights, trying to build up the hype. And Lopez was like, yo, this is my moment. What the hell is he doing up here? And Bob Arum was like, no, we need this. So I think Lopez was cool with that. I'm happy for that because it was his moment. This is something that was, for him, that was totally unprecedented. As far as what we knew as boxing, those that have been exposed to, to Lomachenko. We never seen him control like that.
Right.
Never. And it was like, you see something for the first time, you're like, well, let that guy have his moment, because you don't know what's going to happen afterwards. So, I mean, you can talk about Lomachenko not being there, but I think it really what it did, it also just allowed Lopez's light to shine even brighter.
And John, we were talking about before we got started about the shoulder injury and the effects on that and all that. What does that make you think of when you think, okay, well, he was hurt going into the fight. Why didn't we know that?
Well, as we were joking about it before, I thought of Pacquiao after the Mayweather fight saying that he had a shoulder injury coming in. And I just went, geez, I don't want to make excuses, but I'm making excuses. I don't know. I mean, Charles could be right. I mean, you probably should give him the benefit of the doubt if he was injured, but he shouldn't have fought. I mean, I hate to sound that way. I always believe that. I mean, I'm split, because if he had said, I can't go, then he would have had to get surgery. Then he wouldn't have been able to train back in January. We wouldn't have seen this fight until the summer of 2021. Right. And they've been building this fight up so much. I mean, I understood that part. So all credit to him for that. He got a shot. So it's one of those, one of these like this?
Yeah.
You know, do you even say anything afterwards? Because again, it sounds like you're making an excuse. But he had surgery, so obviously it was legit. So he did have shoulder pain, and anybody who's ever had shoulder pain knows that trying to throw punches would be tough, especially when you're fighting a guy like him. I guess they said he hurt it worse in the second round, I read today, re-injured it or whatever it was. You never would have known it. Right. So, but I don't want to take anything away from Lopez. And if I was Lomachenko, I wouldn't want to either. If I'm going to be a good sportsman, like gold medalists are supposed to be, 2-time gold medalist, sure, he had his spokesman, his manager say it. But if it's me, I hope that he doesn't come back in a few months and say, well, yeah. Unless he's demanding a rematch. And then like we said, Frank, oh yeah, it was so easy to beat me. You said I was basic. Let's do it when I'm 100%, see what happens. And I'm like, oh man, I hope that doesn't happen. But you know, his ego is hurt, I'm sure. And he was embarrassed, like we were saying. That's why I think he got out of the ring so fast. He was embarrassed. And the moment was Lopez, is like Charles has said, but he's like, I don't want to stand here and watch that guy. I mean, that's just me too, Frank. I never understand, but I don't know about you guys, but when I watch baseball games and the other team wins the series or whatever, and these guys are sitting on the bench watching everybody jumping, I guess I'm a bad sport, because I would basically say, F it. I'm out of here. I'm in the locker room. I'm not gonna watch these jerks. I mean, I'm that competitive. You know, Charles gets it. He gets it. I'm like, why are you watching? Get the hell out of there. I'm not going to sit here and watch you jerks jumping around like that. Forget it. I mean, I would be out there so fast, people would be like,
so,
you know, so I mean, I've never understood that.
So you're the one.
So that might have been what Loma was thinking. Forget it. I'm done. I'm out of here.
When you're playing a board game and obviously you're going to lose, just the pieces go up in there. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I have no problem with that. I'm not that person, but I know that person very well. So I believe me. Well, but it is that. And no, I actually am not talking about you.
Look, I didn't, you know, I don't care. I do not care. You know, if you think you are talking about me, I do. I agree with John. If I was, that happened, if I lost, I would shake their hands.
Yeah.
What a gentleman does, but I don't need to sit up there and watch you celebrate, drink champagne, bring your babies out there, your wives and your elderly father. I don't need that, because I'm thinking we should have beat them Muscatches, and I'm gone. I am out.
See ya.
Yeah.
Especially
call that a bad sport if you want to.
No, you started it off right. You said you shake your hand, say congratulations,
shake your hand,
get the heck out
and
of
then go.
Yeah, what I'm talking about. Because I'm thinking we should have won. What could we have done? And then I'm thinking too, what can we do next time? We get another opportunity. Because I'm already, I'd be processing the next opportunity. Now I'm not going to waste this, because we should have beat them. And it'd be different if it's a sport or something where you know you get dominated, right? But when you think you have a chance, then you go, I need to get ready for the next opportunity when it comes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you've thrown the gauntlet to the Segway King here. Now that it's over, and as you said, now what do we do better? What can we do? And we touched on this last week, but I think it's completely different than what we thought. What happens next? What's the shoe to fall? Because we asked, well, if Lopez wins, then A, B, C, or D. If Lomachenko wins, blah, 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 blah. I don't think we saw it happening this way to understand where we go from there. And obviously the having the surgery for Lomachenko. So where do we go if you're Lopez? And he mentioned a lot of names and a lot of stuff. Is it a rematch first, or do we have to wait for the shoulder to heal? Or is it, I got my shot, you got your shot, I'm moving on to greener pastures? John, is it now I'm going to go take on somebody else, or do I go, I'll give him a chance?
Well, he said no rematch. Lopez said no rematch. So if Bob Arum throws $8 million at him, it probably changes his mind. And then they start, I don't think he's going to care if Lomachenko's people are saying, oh, well, come on, big talker. You said it was so easy.
That, right?
Yeah, do it again. I think it depends on how hard it is for him to make 135. It looks like he has to basically kill himself to make 135, even though he looks strong in there and everything. So his nutritionist that he hired and everything obviously did a fantastic job. So it just depends. He's got the boxing world is an oyster to him. He can pretty much do whatever he wants to do, I think. And if it's Lomachenko, fine. I think he mentioned Devin Haney, yikesy. Yeah, he wants to fight Devin Haney. Good luck. I guess that would be hell fighting Devin. There's a guy young like him, moving, punching. I mean, that's another 50-50 fight right there. So, and then if he moves up, he wants to fight Josh Taylor. You know, I mean, I love it. He's got so many choices. He's young and everything, so he can pretty much do what he wants. It depends on how much he wants Lomachenko again. And for Lomachenko, real fast, I just popped into my head. I'm thinking, if I'm Lomachenko, if Lopez doesn't give me a rematch, Charles is gonna love this. You got the thing on Charles. I'm going, well, I'm gonna fight the winner of the Santa Cruz Davis fight. See, I do it. I'll fight him. That's fine. I'll fight the winner of that fight. And if I win, then I'll say to Lopez, come on, man. If he's still at 135, I just beat the other guy. I beat the guy that beat the other guy. I deserve. I mean, he wants to jump right back in. Why not, right? Or he goes back down to 130, and there's all kinds of fights for him at 130. So, and they're not easy. So he's in a tougher spot, obviously. But as far as the entire boxing thing, it's great. It's great.
Charles, what do you think?
Yeah, in regards to Lopez, as John said, he can do whatever he wants to. It's wide open. I like to see him at 140. I would, you talking about Taylor. I love to see that. And I know that's kind of going over and, kind of maybe hedging his bets and maybe dumping back into deep water. But I think he's like, look, I beat the man. I beat the man. Everybody else talked about it. I beat the man.
Did it, right.
I did it. Y'all, everybody talked about maybe I think of that opportunity I'm doing. And not only did I beat him convincingly. So it's like, I'm not afraid of anybody. But I think he says he wants to unify more belts, and it's all about belts with him. So I can see him at 140. I also could see him, as you mentioned, the Devin Haney fight. I want to see that, John. I know you like Devin Haney. I want to see that fight.
I want to see that too.
Because of the factor that it's another opportunity for Lopez to show you, one way or another. You say this guy, and right now he's feeling real confident. And the other part of it too is like, I've been there now. Have you been there? Have you been there? I know it.
It's no longer a theory, right?
Yeah. I beat Lomachenko at his own game, and I've been in that big time situation. So I'd like to see that either way. Or
Ryan Garcia, Charles. Let him fight Ryan Garcia, right?
Yeah. So, however, I mean, but like he said, he's not going to do it. One, it's not going to be cheap, and he's not going to do it without a belt. There's going to be belts involved. So, but in regards to Lomachenko, though, I think Chenko, I see him, while everybody, even his management might say they might be looking for a rematch. I don't think he want a rematch. I don't. I think he's like, you know what? He was big, and I'm not sure.
I found my ceiling, yeah.
Even if at my best, that young guy, I'm not sure. And I will, if you call me out, you make it available, he'll do it. But I don't think he's going to go looking for it. When you can stay at 135 or drop down to 130, as you mentioned, John, there's a lot of great fights over there. People that do want to fight Lomachenko, and he can more likely. Here's the thing: I think that people are going to think he's easy pickings now.
Right, I was thinking that too. Right.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be like, oh, so y'all think I'm weak? That's one guy. He's an exception. So I think he will have a lot of lucrative fights over there. So I think he would stay 135 or even drop down to 130, and then take his chances. Like, who wants some now? As long as it's not him, who wants some? I'll take anybody else on, and I think that's what's going to happen from that regard, because it was one fight, really the only real guy that we've really seen, stopping. He lost earlier, but this on modern day boxing for us anyway, right? He's the guy that stopped him, and I think he can say, well, I lost to one of the best young fighters now. So, but anybody else want to get it? You want some of this? Come see me.
I think we can draw a parallel to Manny Pacquiao. where in the welterweight division in the last 3, 4, 5 years, like, yeah, I'll fight him. He's old and washed up. I'll go get in. They go after him. And like, no, sorry. You thought he was somebody that he's not. Even though after the,
Jeff Horn.
Thank you. Just dropped out of my head. Even after that debacle, you're like, okay, he's easy pickings now. You're right. And he wasn't. So, yeah, I think that, the ceiling at 135 is like, I probably should go back down to where I should be for Lomachenko. But the thing that I find interesting that has changed with these younger fighters that we haven't seen in a decade or so, they're not, I don't believe, and I could be wrong about this, that they're not calling out people just for the sake of calling them out. Yeah, I'll fight him, and then 8 years from now, they still haven't fought. I think if the people involved say, we're going to see Lopez Haney, it's going to happen. And it's going to happen pretty quick. If they say, I want to fight, the winner of this, Shakur Stevens wants to come in, this guy, they'll put it together because that's what they want to do. Whereas, as we've seen the mess with the welterweights, why we haven't seen Crawford Spence yet, I still don't know. But we all know that it's probably not going to happen for another decade or so because that's the way they do it. I call the guy out, yet I'm really not going to fight him, and that's the history of the fight game. I understand that, but I don't think these guys are looking at it that way. I want him. He wants me. Put us in the ring. Let's do it. And I think it's going to be fantastic. And the fact that he had a list of names, well, whatever my management said, no, okay, screw that. You could tell he didn't want to go where he went. It's like, I don't want to go. Yeah, screw it. Give me Devin Haney. That's who I want. Give me this guy. I want. It's like he thought about saying the right thing for about an eighth of a second. Like, nah, let's go because I'm feeling confident, which he should be after that. So now we're looking at is that area, because we've been talking about the welterweights and the supers and all that being wide open. Does this open up the lightweight area as well, or does it close it down, John?
Well, guys are going to move up and down depending. I mean, it does and it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. After Haney at 135, if you're Lomo and Lopez, then who are you talking about? That's why I threw Davis in the mix, because I thought if he beats Leo, which most people think he's going to do, then that's a great opportunity for Lomachenko to win some belts. And that was because of what Charles was saying, that Lopez isn't going to fight guys with belts. Well, if he wins that, he's got another belt, and he'll say, here, I got a belt. But of course, Haney can say too, look, I got a belt. It's lesser, because there's like 15 belts nowadays, as we know, drives us crazy. But he could say too, I got a belt. So it really just depends on what you really think you could do, and I think that's the major point. I think like Lomachenko, he's got to be realistic here. Yeah, he lost to a young, hungry guy, but he's been getting hurt a lot. This is a second shoulder surgery.
Right.
His body seems like it's breaking down to me, and that's what happens when you have 400 amateur fights, and even though we only have 16 pro fights, his body is not responding. I mean, the training. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but I don't know up close. But I mean, these guys really work hard for 2-3 months to get ready for these fights. I mean, they kill each other. I mean, it's almost, people know it, but you don't really know it unless you hang out and watch them work. Because you're talking, it's mind-boggling how hard.
This training is insane. Yeah.
Right. They got to go hard for 12 rounds. They're not thinking I'm only going to go hard for 2 rounds. They're thinking they're training to go hard for 20 rounds. And I like that though too, Frank. I agree with you that I think when these guys are talking about fighting each other, I do think it's going to happen. And that's what used to happen in our day, and I hate to be the old curmudgeon here again, but when Joe Frazier said, I want to fight Muhammad Ali, that's right. Joe Frazier said, and it happened. Muhammad Ali said, I want to fight Joe Frazier. It happened. Muhammad Ali said, I want to fight George Foreman. It happened. I could go on and on and on and on. Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, they got together. In that day, and before that, they didn't talk too much because they put them together. That was what boxing was about, putting the best of the best. Now it's like, well, I'll call you out, but it's like one of those, like your kids, cross that line, and he crosses it. Yeah. Cross that line, he crosses it. Cross that line. He crosses it. Well,
I think
it's been
your mom's
7
calling,
years.
you better go home. Yeah.
That's right. It's been 7 years, but I still want to fight you.
Yeah,
so it
right.
gets ridiculous. So I hope Teofimo, when he says, I want to fight all the guys with the belts and everything, I hope he means it, because he could get seduced very easily by all the money. He deserves an easy defense too. See, I never had a problem with that. When a guy does something spectacular, like this, let him go home, let him have an easy fight. Why not? Reward him. Then the next one,
right?
Bam. That's what you do. You build up his popularity even more. But you're talking about real fast, the lightweight division. It's open now in a way, Frank, and that's good. I like that. Allow some of the younger guys to get in there, and the younger guys are obviously dominating right now.
Well, as we keep talking about boxing returning, it's not there yet, but this was a good start or a good place to hang our hat. Charles, what's happened in the next few weeks that you're going, this may be something that I really want to see that maybe not everyone else is really concerned about, or I don't care what anyone else is concerned about it, this I want to check out. What's coming up on your radar that you're going, yeah.
I wonder what.
Why are you looking at me like that on the screen?
It's like I pitched for the Pirates. I just lofted one right down the heart of the plate.
I know, I'm puzzled.
Go ahead
What's
and
he gonna
crush
say?
that one. Yeah. Go ahead and crush that one out of the park.
That's right. I don't, no idea what he's going to say. Go on, Charles.
Just call me Mookie Betts, man. Right?
Yep. I just threw an ephus pitch there. Go ahead and do something with it.
It's one of those things you look at and you go, really? Really? This is what you're doing? You're like,
yeah. Bam.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's clear. It's Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. Just because of the fact that I've been waiting on this type of fight for a long time, because people have always questioned Leo Santa Cruz whether or not he was strong enough and big enough to go against somebody with that type of power. And Davis, of course, needs to really have a signature fight. Maybe he's been bouncing around by talking about how strong he is and whatnot, but this is a signature fight where legitimately somebody who's going to fight can really perhaps defeat him. Because you looked at the Gamboa fight. Gamboa was, early on, he gave him a little run for his money. And now that Lomachenko, is not around, and we kind of always thought Tank was a little bit too big for him anyway. This is a matchup of two guys that, and look, Leo Santa Cruz also admits one of the things we're worried about is if he put his hands on me, he hits me, I could go down quick. Yeah. And that's natural. That's legit. And you might say, some people might think he's a scaredy cat, but that's legit, a legit concern. But at the same time, he says, but I'm a fighter. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to see what I can do. And I'm going to fight him. I'm not going to run from him. And I like that, because these are two guys that want to get at it. And I'll say this too, as I get out the way. I think Gervonta Davis is taking this so seriously on a next level type of situation that he went and he has close personal connections and working with Floyd Mayweather because he don't want to mess this up. I'm serious. I've never seen that before. I know he brings him in the gym, talk to him a little bit, but literally this time Floyd Mayweather is hands on because he wants him to win that bad. And I think, how Gervonta can be a little lax from what we see as far as his weight is concerned.
Right.
Attitude, is he off doing something he shouldn't be doing? Is he training properly? All of that. And I think working with Floyd is like, we need to have you laser focused. And this way we know it's going to happen, because Floyd is no nonsense when it comes to preparation. And I think that's why when I listen very closely and listen to Floyd talk to him and whatnot, I was like, woo, Leo, you going to, they got an unfair advantage now because they bringing in Floyd with the experience. And I just hope that so if Leo Santa Cruz does win this, I'm going to be even more impressed, because you had Floyd in your corner and you had all that and you still couldn't win. Yeah, Leo Santa Cruz, if you can pull this off, and I'm still rooting for you, buddy. If you can pull this off, I'm really going to have a higher respect. You'll have a higher respect for me as well.
Well, the thing I like about this fight is that, and we'll get into it more next week, the thing I like about this fight is, on paper, or by physique or whatever you want to call it, this looks like your classic boxer versus puncher fight. But it's not, because that's the beauty of Santa Cruz is he's not a stand out there stylist kind of guy. He wants to get down and dirty and gritty. So this is going to be interesting because somebody's will has to take over. And again, we'll get into it more next week, but I'm interested in that one. John, what's coming up that you are going, wow, can't believe we're going to get this?
Yeah, look at Charles. He knows. Well, obviously, that one, we've been talking about it for months. I mean, Usyk is also fighting on Halloween also. He's fighting Derek Chisora from England. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be an all-day marathon of boxing. I'm sure I'm forgetting the 31st is just going to be a dream for anybody who loves boxing. And in a way, it's funny because as you guys were talking, Santa Cruz is kind of doing what Lomachenko did. You know, he moved up in weight. He's fighting. He's not fighting a guy that really seems bigger than him, but he's obviously fighting a guy who's more powerful than him. Right. He's fighting a guy who's younger than him. Davis has got really, really heavy hands, as we know. So he knows it. And Leo is more cerebral than people think. Again, kind of like Lomachenko. He's thinking. That's why when he said that was like, wow, you don't hear a fighter say that very often. Wow, man, this guy could drop me, and that tells you that's how he is. He's always honest that way. So yeah, I love this matchup. I love the fact that Santa Cruz is doing this. I mean, he's doing what's the thing? He's daring to be great. He's moving up. He's fighting an undefeated guy. Haney is fighting Gamboa. You guys mentioned Gamboa. He's fighting Gamboa in November, so that ought to be interesting. I think he stops him there. I'm already going out on a limb here. Yeah, I'm not going out on a limb. I think he stops him, but Santa Cruz and see, I think Leo Santa Cruz can win that fight real fast, and I think he's got to do kind of like Lopez, but more. He's very active, Leo's, and he's got to do that. He's got to be able to keep Davis busy. He's got to think, because that's what Lopez was doing. Lomachenko, he had him thinking. He's throwing uppercuts at me. He's throwing, like Charles said, the body shots. He's throwing a jab. I didn't think that was coming. Leo's got to do the same thing, but the big difference here is he's got to be able to he's got to hurt Davis a little bit. He's got to make Davis hesitate before he comes in there and throws those bombs. If he again, we've done this before. If Santa Cruz hits him with a wicked right hand, a la Alexis Arguello and Aaron Pryor, and he just looks at him, yikes!
That's it. Thank you very much.
He looks at him like, that's all you got? That would be bad. But he'll stay cool. He's cool and calm. But his work rate is really good. So we'll talk about this next week. But yeah, that one obviously. And then the 31st all together. This weekend's got some good fights. You mentioned Chocolatito's fighting, Estrada's fighting, a rematch. That would be good. Yeah, that's Friday. So that ought to be really good. But next weekend, they moved it to the 31st because it was. Oh, and then the Monster is fighting Jason Maloney on. Yeah, he's fighting 31st too. So it's just a potpourri of fantastic matchups for boxing on October 31st.
See, you ruined my little segue there because in the middle of that, you said in a way. I said, aha, we can use that because in a way, however you pronounce it, but
it's still good, Frank.
And Jason Maloney, I tell you what, when he fought in the bubble and lost, I have never seen I don't know. He was so disappointed in himself.
That was the twin. That was the other.
That's the twin. Okay, that was the other one. Okay.
He lost to Franco. He's fighting a rematch with Franco in November. That's another good one.
All right. Yeah. Well. Okay. Well. All right. Well, then I've got it wrong. But still, the twin brother. Right. I'd never seen someone so disappointed in himself.
Yes. Start crying.
The performance that he gave. Yeah. And there was no blame anyplace else at all. This one's on me. And I couldn't wait to see his next fight. I forgot it was the brother because
that's coming up.
Somebody else too, but still,
coming up November.
Yeah. We get to see the monster, and on this continent, if you haven't seen him, you're gonna go, whoa, what? That'll be interesting. And there's so, like you said, there's so much coming on that we're not back yet, and I'd still like to see how the calendar shakes out a little bit, but we're getting close. And then there's this thing coming up in a few weeks I don't know if I want to see it or not. I'm still debating. I don't know if it's going to be something that's going to be worth looking at or not.
Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
You're talking about what I think you're talking about, yeah. And here, obviously, I'm talking about Tyson Roy Jones. If Mike Tyson is able to land the punches he lands in training, these skeletons, phantom workouts, Roy Jones may need a corner quick. Because I don't know, he's throwing Mike Tyson 1984, 1988, whatever the hell, with speed. And I know Roy Jones was fast, but I don't know that Roy Jones is going to be fast enough to get out of the way of that. They better have an 84-foot ring, and he better be able to run for 8 rounds, because I don't know. Now, we don't know if either one can take a punch. We're not even sure if either one can land a punch. But to me, that is just, it's intriguing because of, well, it being two of the guys that you go, two of the fastest hands I've ever seen in whatever division they were in. And the fact that they're 170 years old combined. So that makes it interesting as well. But is it something I have to see or I have to pay for? I don't know. But it is something intriguing, like, Ali fighting Lyle Alzado or something like that. It's something that you go, oh, this will be interesting, I think. Charles like, will he shut up? All right, so as we're looking, okay, that makes me think of something. Yeah, well, that made me think of something. What is the most bizarre thing you've seen happen in a ring? And not the most, one of the things that jump out at you, go, I can't believe this happened in a boxing ring or in a sport in general, but it happened in a boxing ring. I'll give you a couple of seconds to stew about that. I can think of, I can think of 2 of them off the top of my head that were really weird that had nothing to do with the fight. And another one I thought of, Charles, I mentioned it to you the other day, if you think about one of the conversations we had. So hopefully in that little segue there, or that little vamp, I gave you an idea. Charles, think what's happened in the ring? You went, what the hell just happened there?
I mean, there's a couple of things, but the one thing I saw, I'm to this day, and I met him in person. I still was like, the hell happened? Because I thought he was a hell of a fighter, but he just had a moment and he just blanked out. Oliver McCall, when he started crying and just quit and couldn't fight anymore and had a breakdown of some kind. I was like, because he was winning the fight, or he was, he was right there, and you're like, well, what happened? Yeah, that's the one that really. I mean, there's some other stuff, and I'll let you guys get into that, but that was just like
I've almost forgot about that. Yeah. Well, and the thing about that one was that I'm not sure who was the most perplexed, the people watching the fight or Lennox Lewis, because Lennox Lewis what's going on? Should I hit him? What? I'm not. He's standing there with his hands down, crying. Should I hit him? Is this a ploy? What? And I'm like watching on TV. Hit him in the face. Hit him in the face. He's like, I don't know. Like, wow, yeah, that's a good one. John?
2 of them with that I'm still shake my head about. There's 3 that popped into my head, and they're all different. Was when Bo fought Holyfield, and the guy comes flying out of the sky in Las Vegas and lands
That's
in the ring.
That's the first one I thought of, right? Yeah.
I'm watching that going, what the hell is that? And that was
everybody went and hit him.
Yeah, exactly. And he deserved it. It's like, what's he doing? Yeah. The guy's acting like, why are you all getting mad at me?
Yeah. And everybody involved would beat the crap out of him. Yeah.
Exactly. And then in 2 boxers, and there's lots, but when Galata and Bo fought, and he kept getting warned to not hit him, and he keeps hitting him low. You're like, is he trying to get out of the fight? I mean, he was actually winning against Bo. And his corner's telling him, old Lou Duva, rest in peace, yelling at him, don't hit him low anymore. You're going to get disqualified. And he's like this, and he goes down. The first punch he throws it low.
Hits him in the knee, yeah.
He's crazy. And then the last one I thought was a bad one. What's that guy's name? Well, there was 2. When the fight is over and the guy slugs somebody. James Butler went over and slugged somebody in the corner during an ESPN fight and hurt him really bad. And then Darrell's trainer, when he went and hit the fighter who he felt like he had knocked his nephew, hit him after the bell. Trainer walks over there and throws the right hand at him. I'm like, Leon is his name. Leon. Yeah, he's actually a great guy, but he just lost his emotion. So there's been some crazy stuff, and I'm sure there's a ton more, but those are the ones that pop up where I go, did that just happen? Did I really just see that?
Can I throw one other?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I was at this fight. That's what they made it more bizarre. I was there in person. Ortiz versus Mayweather. And the point where they were hugging and he went to kiss him. And then they broke and the referee was like, fight.
Joe Cortez.
Hands down and they were tagged him and the whole world lost their mind.
Right.
Like, he told you protect yourself at all times.
Yes.
And the referee said break.
Yep.
And Mayweather slugged him. Everybody's like, he's a cheater.
You're a dirty man. Right.
No, that was,
You had your hands down. I was like, and I'm watching the fight, and I'm like, did that just really happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, what I was talking about was the Galata thing. Yeah, it was like, you mean you're just going to keep? It's like, I'm going to hit him in the knee now. Really? Yeah. It wasn't below the belt. It was below the shorts after a while.
It was.
You're like, geez, Liz, I didn't know you could throw a punch that low. Well, also Fan Man was one of mine. Mine was, and I always get it mixed up, Marvin Hagler after he beats Alan Minter.
And when they throwing stuff in the ring?
And they're throwing the stuff from the crowd, and his trainers are making a shield over Hagler in the corner, and they got bottles and books and young puppies and all kinds. The crowd just threw everything at him, and there was no place to go. You try and get him out of the ring to the locker room. Well, that's where the people were throwing the stuff from. Mm-hmm. So it's just stuff, beer bottles just raining down on them. You're like, wow, they take this stuff seriously in England when their guy gets his butt kicked. That was wild. The Galata one was just, and of course we can always say, Tyson Holyfield. That's an easy one. Yeah. That's cherry picking right there. So
right, I know. That's why I didn't say it.
Yeah. But there have been, it just, usually to me, it's the after the fight. What happens after the fight? Is there sportsmanship? Is there not sportsmanship? Who's going to do what? Who's going after whom? Sometimes, you got hit after the bell, like you said, and then someone goes out crazy. But to me, the most weird thing that I ever saw was, because I remember watching it live when it was on HBO. And like, well, what's the commotion? And it takes a second for the cameraman to pan out of the corner and go, dude just fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and if that's not weird enough, he's tangled up in his chute and in the thing, and he's in the ring in the corner, and then another beat goes by, and you could see the look on everybody's face, like, we need to go hit him. And everybody goes, and the guy, like you said, I didn't do anything. And then people just beating the snot out of it. That to me was just hilarious. Like, and now back to live action. It was almost like the what was it? The scene in Ocean's 11 where the lights go off and then everyone just starts hitting everybody. And it's the weird thing. And but Galata is one of those things. And I forgot about Oliver McCall. I not forgot.
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
a good one.
That's not one that jumped into my mind. But yeah, I remember seeing that one and thinking,
having a breakdown.
Just having a breakdown. Yeah.
You know what, Frank?
To do.
You know what, Frank? I can't help but throw this in because I love Muhammad Ali so much. But one of the funniest, and this isn't crazy like that at all, but one of the funniest things that I ever saw, 1976, Muhammad Ali passed the prime at 11, fighting Richard Dunn. And when he starts knocking him down, he knocks him down the left, and then he's about 10 feet away from him going like this. And it just, to this day, I just watched it and I cracked up. I thought there has never been or never be another person or fighter like that guy.
No.
He was the best entertainer you ever saw. And Richard Dunn loves him to this day. He felt so bad when he died and everything, but he's doing the windmill, getting ready.
Yeah.
And so he would bring the crazy and the talent and everything else into the ring. And those examples we used, those were just crazy. But this was crazy and funny, and that was Muhammad Ali, just amazing.
And I think, Charles, we've talked about this before. One of the first time that I saw Hector Macho Camacho come in wearing a skirt.
It's another one.
What? Who? Isn't there a dress code for this sport? He's wearing a skirt. What the hell is that? You know, and some of the ring entrances, that could be a whole other show. Some of the ring entrances people do, but yeah, the first time I saw Camacho wearing a skirt, I'm like, did they what? Okay, there better be some padding in that thing. So, all right, so this brings to mind things. This is why we talk about this to other people. You know, what happened that wasn't just straight down the pipe. This is what, you know, they went in, they fought. This is the problem that I have. I don't want to call it a problem because this is where we're at. I don't have a problem with that. But this is what I dislike about the bubble thing. Because it's just about get out of the locker room, go fight the fight, go back to the locker room. There's so much more to the event. And from covering events, you guys know this more than I do. And even the weigh-in. Sometimes the weigh-in is even more entertaining than the fight.
Yeah.
What we're missing right now is the event. You know, the people in the stands. We mentioned the Tyson Holyfield thing. Charles, you were at that one, right?
No, I was not at that one.
Okay, all right. I know someone detailed that the whole action went from the fight, out of the fight, into the casino, and people were hiding underneath, you know, crap tables and stuff because now it's a brawl amongst everybody in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not necessarily a good thing, but it's interesting. So
it depends if you're there, though. I've been there where I don't know if I forgot one of the Mayweather fights. I don't know if you knew where they had. I think it was the Madonna first fight, where people were rushing out of the MGM, and somebody thought somebody got shot.
I was there, Charles.
Me too. Yeah,
and I was in the media center.
And everybody, and I was in the media center at first.
You were?
And I said, nah, because I was like, okay, I had done what I was going to do for the night. And I was like, I'm leaving. So I was like, I don't need to be around here for all this. So I leave and I start to walk around. And then I'm walking back around to trying to get to the casino. And then you heard that, boom. Yeah, and the people rushed. I was halfway there. I had just not too far off his surgery too. The people were rushing towards me.
Oh, jeez.
And they knocked down some elderly people. They knocked it out over in a wheelchair, man.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, my God. They were just running. So I was there, and I couldn't run because, you know, I had hip surgery. I was like a couple months off. So I just said, you know what? I just stopped, and I turned, and I was like this. I'm serious. I was like this. And they just they avoided me. And then I was able to kind of slide over. And then we stopped and helped some people up. But initially, it was like a stampede. And like I said, I was like, I can't get out the way. So I just like, you know what? Let's do it. And we come to find out it was a table. It wasn't even a freaking gun.
It was a table, yeah.
Yeah.
My gag line always was, I never saw so many writers close their computers and get the hell out of there so fast in my whole life. Because you remember the way the media center is set up, Charles. They've got the microphone in the front, right? And then all the seating for the media. To the left was the bathroom. Right. So about 10 or 15 guys ran into the bathroom trying to hide, you know. And I've got my computer, I got all my stuff, and I'm thinking, it's going to take me 5 minutes to do this. So I I was very aware of and alert, but then the security guard came in there and said, it's cool. It's just the table got knocked down, everybody. And here come these guys coming back from the bathroom. I actually moved into another slot where somebody else was standing. But I mean, for about 30 seconds, it was crazy. I mean, your brain is going, oh crap. I mean, did somebody just shoot somebody? Somebody going to come in here with a machine gun, with an Uzi or something?
You don't know, right?
And truth be told, the one thing they probably didn't say what, because I was outside the media room, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
People tried to get in the media room. Did you know that?
Yes. Yeah, we heard the doors being shut.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
We were like, holy crap.
People tried. I was like, oh my God. That was crazy. That's the wildest thing. I was like, wow. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I can see him standing there like Kevin Bacon in Animal House. All is calm, baby. You know, like, and the people.
No, it wasn't even that. Like I told you, my hands was up. I was ready to knock people out. Not all is calm. The hell with that. I'm not a peacemaker when it comes to that. My hands literally went up like this. And when people coming towards me, they literally went this way or they went that way. And other people, they just knocking them down. I mean, they just like,
wow,
boom, boom, boom. I was like, nah, not today. If I do fall, I'm not gonna be alone. I put my hands up, let's go. And then they were
going
like,
with me.
Yeah, I said, you want some of this? And they went like this and that. And then they calmed down. And I was able to get out the way. But I mean, there was elderly people, they just ran over.
See, I didn't know that. Wow, that's
crazy.
Well, the thing about being at a fight, especially here in Las Vegas, is that it's not just because I want to see the fight. It's not just because I got a couple of bucks on it. There is emotion involved with it. And I don't know that you can say that so much about a team sport. Yes, you want your team to win and you're wearing the jersey, and I get all that. But when you're backing one guy who represents you or your country or whatever, there is more to it than just that. And that's what I think we're missing. I hope we get back to it. You know, we joke about when, say, a Ricky Hatton or somebody comes over from Great Britain and fights. And and there are, you know, there's not enough Guinness left in the country to supply them, you know. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that here comes, you know, half of Great Britain to follow the fight. And they travel and they come over and they set up camp. Loyal, mostly respectful for what's going on around here. They're enjoying their time here. But it's like, you know, and as we've mentioned before, you know, did Hatton have a chance of winning that fight? Well, they thought so. Most people.
They were singing. Frank, they were singing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hatton Mayweather. I just remember there's only one Ricky Hatton.
That's right. That's right. And you know what, Frank? You made me think of what it is about when you're at live events, and even when you can watch them on TV, you can sense it. And I know Charles can relate to this. When it's getting closer to the main event, a buzz.
Yep.
The arena starts to build.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're waiting for the fighters to make their entrance, it just builds. And when it's like 15, 16, 17, or 19,000 at the MGM, I mean, okay, that, you know, it doesn't sound like a lot of people when football games have 70 or 80,000.
Maybe that's better, right?
Right. But when you've got a smaller arena like that, and you've got all these people in this place, and they're all jacked up about the fight, and they're all excited, and you got money on the fighter and everything, that buzz. And then the other thing is the same thing, but this is outside. When I've been at the fights in Carson, California, that is incredible. That is like a throwback to the gladiator days. It's outside. I've seen so many amazing fights. I mentioned this in the latest book. Incredible. When Angulo knocked Lara down, I thought there was no roof, but I thought the roof had just flown off. I mean, it was just such a scream. And that's what is we're missing right now, I think. I mean, I'm okay to a degree without the fans, and I understand that's the way it is right now, and we got to do it, and we got to get past this pandemic. I'm all fine. And nobody likes this, people, but we have to do it. We have to be adults about this. But when I think about an event, the buzz, it's not anything that you've ever experienced it. And when you first time, I went to a Mayweather fight in Vegas, and the first time I was like, wow, this is what it's really like.
This is what it's like. Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. That's what I thought.
Well, I went to just the weigh-in over at MGM, and they opened up the weigh-in to the public. And it's kind of the same thing. Okay, these are the people on the undercard that you never heard of, and they come out from this curtain. He comes out from this curtain. And now the ring announcer comes out, because now it's the man, and you're like, what? And it lasts 5 minutes to introduce the guys, And everyone before was, on their phone texting like that. People are like, ah! And
yeah, Mayweather-Pacquiao was insane when they had the weigh-in. I was there too. It's crazy.
There's nothing that's going to happen here other than the guy's going to strip down to his underwear and he's going to step on the scale. But people go crazy, and I got caught up in it too. Like, oh my goodness! And so then afterwards, it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and you're like, okay, so what do? You walk away, and you get that same. Who? It's like, I'm neutral. I'm with the press. Oh. And are you for that guy? Yeah. Oh yeah. And you're flying the flag. I'm like, wow. I mean, it's insane. It really is. And that's that's what we're missing. Like you said, I understand why we're here now, and let's get it taken care of so we don't have to worry about it. But this is the one sport, and I'm not an MMA guy, so I can't really comment on that. But this is the one sport where we channel all of our excitement, hope, dreams, whatever, into one person. You can say it's Tom Brady, but Tom Brady has to have everyone else play. You can't blame him for one game. Or say, Tom Brady won us a championship. Here it's this. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Pardon me. I forgot my inner Doug Williams and Steve Young were shining out there. But
I had to do that.
And Steve DeBerg as well. Sorry about that.
Oh.
But how many other Tampa Bay quarterbacks can you remember, James? But it's the idea of this is where we go. And I think as chroniclers of what you guys do, and having been there, that's the fun of what I get from reading and seeing what you guys talk about. Because A, we don't get to be there, but B, since you've done it a few times, Charles has a story at a weigh-in that just, I went, you did what? And if you don't know him or you don't understand the storytelling behind it, it seems like a kind of innocuous event. But then once he puts it out there for you, go, well, that's pretty cool. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay, so go ahead and regale us with that one, and we'll get out of here after that.
Yeah, no doubt. We were over at I think that was Mandalay, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Mandalay.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mandalay Bay, and just kind of watching it was the weigh-in and everything like that too. So I was like, I thought about going down closer, right to all of everything, and I was like, I'm not going down there. I'm gonna go up just a little higher, and talking to the security guard. So they had the area where they usually have like the elderly and the handicapped people are, right? They can just let you stand. So I'm there. I'm like, all right. Guys like, oh yeah, you're all right. Don't worry about it. Nobody was coming over there. So I'm relaxing. So then I'm over there and there's these two elderly ladies. And this one lady's like, hey baby, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good, mama. How you doing? She's like, oh, blessed and highly favored. I said, good, mama. So she said, then she started talking about, yeah. She said, who you here to see? I said, I'm a writer. I came here to fight. You came all the way out here for the fight? Yes, ma'am. She said, you must really love this. I said, well, I get paid for it too. She said, you come see my baby? I said, who is that? She says, my baby, Floyd. I said, and it was Floyd Mayweather's grandmother. And she was like, yeah, baby, he brought me out here. I don't like coming out here. It's crazy and these people, but he wanted me out here. And her, and I think it was her sister, we started having a basic conversation. So I'm there for the next 15 minutes and not bothering them. We just having like they were my auntie's conversation. And then as we're talking, these people start coming up. And I look around and it's Floyd's family. And they're looking at me like, who is that man? Who is this? Talking to grandma, like, what you want? Leave grandma alone.
Yeah, really?
No, grandma said, no, no, baby. This young man right here, he was talking to me and making sure I was good. But literally all of his family came up there. He didn't, of course, because he was still, whatever. But a bunch of family members came up there. And then they were like, once grandma said I was good, they were like, all right, no problem. But I'm literally with his grandmother having a 25-minute conversation. And she was the sweetest person in the world. And I'm like, wow, that's a little different.
That's neat. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Well, and again, we see the event. We sometimes forget the personal touch of what the event is. You know, that it's people involved. And again, I think that this is the idea I had when I saw how Lomachenko reacted after the fight. We normally don't get that. I mean, the close-up is on him and not on the event. And how personal it is to them, even though he didn't show emotion, that lack of emotion was the emotion. You know, so that to me was pretty telling, that he was trying to keep it all inside when at this point it's like, it's okay to be disappointed, dude. And you could see that he was being very emotional, trying not to be emotional. So, you know, and John, I'm sure, like you said, you've got a different take on it being in California and some of those fights there, especially in the open air. Anything that jumps to mind when you go, yeah, I'm not really sure that anyone else would understand this unless they were involved in it.
Well, I got a quick weigh-in story that I always laugh at because it was hilarious, and it was the second fight of Andre Ward's that I attended, and it was when he's fighting Kessler in the World Boxing in the Super 6 tournament, and that was a one where 28. I got to brag now since I was wrong about Lomachenko. That was the one where 28 out of 31 experts picked Kessler, and I was one of the 3 who took Andre Ward. And I had interviewed him a few weeks before, and I was totally sold that this guy was going to win. And so I went to the weigh-in. They had it at a hotel by the airport in Oakland. And what blew my mind was Kessler had a big entourage of people that had come from Denmark, not like Ricky Hatton, but he had probably 40 people from Denmark. And we're all trying to get a good position for the weigh-in. And as Andre Ward steps on the scale, guy standing right next to me yells at the top of his lungs, "He's going to knock you out in the first round, gold medalist." And there's like a silence, and Andre Ward's standing on the scale. He gets off the scale, and he just looks right at the guy like. And so then we go to the fight, right? And these guys, the one guy, the big mouth guy, sitting right in front of me in media center, right in the media row, right in front of me. So they're all laughing before the fight. Well, by the third round, they're not laughing.
Right.
And I can be kind of a brat sometimes because I will admit that. So, yeah, I know it's shocking. I have a Boy Scout face. I had to put my face on a stamp, you know, but it's not true. It's all bull. So I think in the 5th round, I leaned over to the guy that had said he was going to knock Andre Ward out in the first round. I went, "So how's it going for your boy here?" And he turns around and he looks at me. And I went, "Well, you said he was going to knock him out in the first round. I'm just asking." He stood up really fast and stormed off. And then his friends gave me a dirty look and joined him. So I'm like, oh, jeez. So by the time the fight ended, I don't know where they were. They never came back.
You started a war with Denmark. How dare you?
I know. Denmark, nice people. Yeah. But that was just one of those memorable moments that you just, really? Did you just say that? So
as we've discovered, and myself included, that the role of the unbiased journalist doesn't really exist.
Not that particular time, right? I threw that out just to make that one little comment. I wrote a very fair report, but the guy would, and see, the part I left out was that when they were sitting right in front of me, they were jabbering the whole time, making it very difficult for anybody. I wrote about the whole card in those days. Right. So they were already on my last nerve. They were already bugging me. Now wouldn't have hesitated. I was a nicer guy back then. I was younger, but now I'm old grouch. So I would have said, "Hey," but they're so, and I hate real cocky people. And they were so sure what was going to happen. I tried to tell myself, don't say anything. It's obvious what's happening, but right. I just couldn't help leaning forward and doing it. But if they had been quiet about it, I would have been fine. But they crossed. The journalist part, right. You're not supposed to cheer for somebody. You're not supposed to. But, that kind of went out the window, I will say, in that fight because. Well,
it happens to all of us.
Yeah. I mean, Andre Ward, he told me his story, and I liked his story, and I love people that have dreams, Frank. You have dreams. Charles, we all have dreams. And here you're witnessing a guy actually achieve it right in front of you. So when Andre Ward stood up on the rope, when they said, because he had told me, all I want to hear is, and the new.
Right.
If you watch the tape, he's waiting for them to say, and the new. And I haven't admitted this to anybody. I'm going to admit it right now. I was standing, and I was only 20 feet from the ring at the most, and we locked eyes, and I went, and he went, so I couldn't help it. I just, as a human being, from one human being to another, I was just really happy for him.
Right.
Well, that's it.
and of course, you always get that, you kids get off my lawn moment. So that's always cool too. But and for those of you that are, what's the phrase, under millennials, the whatever generation below that is, that are watching this show, I will have this to say to you. What are you, nuts? But this is for old farts like us. But it is that thing, as we get more involved in what we do and we get a little bit older, we aren't quite as, I guess patient. The word is, patient, I guess is better, because we've been there, done that. And that's, because we could segue into the Tyson Jones fight, but we won't do that. All right. So, and look, this has been a great show. Again, we've referenced a lot of stuff. The road jog Jesse James, I never thought I'd use that in a show at all.
Good one, Frank.
Good. Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow. And Oliver McCall, I didn't think we were going to ever talk about Oliver McCall in the show either. So good with Charles. So, all right. Here's the deal, folks. We're back. We're getting more stuff going on. We have more fights happening. We let John plug the books real quick, please.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. Intimate Warfare is the first with Dennis Taylor, and then my own Blood in My Notebook. That's got a lot of that, what I just told about Andre Ward and his fight with Kessler is in there, the account of that. And then the latest is a few more rounds in that one. We got our first review, and we were thrilled. We got a 5-star review, and Mike Silver, who's written some great boxing books, he nailed it. As I said last week, I mean, it's a personal account about two guys who love boxing and some of the relationships we have with the fighters, and then some of the events, like for me, that happened when I was a kid. And I talk about Carson almost getting beat up by a couple of guys, the old grouch again, getting in trouble. So, and then when I was a kid and went to the Olympics. So just a lot of very personal things. So a little bit of difference, kind of like this show. Think of it like this show where we're just talking, and they're just articles, guys talking about things that they experience. Like Charles' story with Floyd's grandmother is just an incredible one. That would have been perfect in the book there, Charles. Very, very personal story. So it's like that. So we're very proud of it, and it's selling pretty good. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is that whoever's buying it is really, really liking it, and for that, I'm thrilled and thank you.
So pull a Jay Peterman and buy that for the next book.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
All right, Mr. Farmer, where can we track you down?
TheRealityOfSports.com. We also have Reality of Sports on Facebook. Also the Goon Squad Sports Radio Show. A couple other guys are doing some other things, but that's where it is. But you can catch me here because I love boxing, love entertaining individual people, and then also letting them know, sharing some knowledge, because just one of those things that I'm not perfect. We're just having opinions. But the whole point is we hope that you get something out of it, and you are entertained and educated at the same point. But most importantly, have your own opinion.
Have your own opinion, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That is the very important thing, exactly. Well, you can get my opinion on the Ultimate Sports Network and all its iterations and all that good fun stuff. I also am appearing weekly on the Sports Crib with a K, and instead of me moderating, I talk, so you may or may not want to tune into that one. And then I believe in the next couple of weeks, I will be appearing at the Clark County Public Library. I'll be checking out books from the science fiction section. And no, sorry.
Are you serious?
I can't help myself. No. Yes, I'm going to the library and I'm going to check out a book is what I'm saying. So
I'm about to say, you got a public appearance you to tell me?
No, when the library opens, I need to go get some books. So
I got some books, Frank. I'm reading like 4 of them right now. So that's got to read. Great.
Well, you got to keep up with what's going on. So,
but real quick, what I love about this, because I did other boxing shows, and this is not trying to say anything that you guys don't know. This is the most fun I've ever had doing a boxing show, and I hope people the small group that watch us see that, because none of this is scripted. We go totally off the top of our head, and it is just and we are totally ourselves. Just a total blast. I've said it before, but I can't help it. It's just so much fun.
Hey,
and we are looking for feedback. So one of the things that I'm thinking that it might be, not that we're going to change it, but one of the things I'm thinking maybe is it may be too long. I don't know. That's a possibility. But if that's the case, too bad. Man up and watch it, because we have too much information to provide in the amount of time we have to provide it. So that's too bad. We may cut it into separate segments, but I'm not going to work that hard to do that either. So if that is your complaint as to why you don't watch it, well, then tough toenails for you. And on that note, as we've said nice things about our audience, we are going to say goodbye, farewell, when we'll live to fight another day. So thank you, gentlemen, once again. And that is the end of our program.
Take care, everybody. Stay well.
No doubt.